I came across a story about this woman that was invited. She was asked to be a singer at a this person that was getting married was really high up, very well known, father, very, very wealthy. They invited her to be a singer, and so she came to the wedding and she sang. After the wedding was over, the reception was being held at a hotel, very fancy hotel in the penthouse, way up in the upper part of that hotel. And she's so excited, and she and her husband are going up, and they go up, and as they start to walk toward the entry, they start looking, and as they're looking, man, they see waiters dressed in white suits and black bow ties. This is going to be some kind of an event. There is a 15-piece orchestra that is setting up, and she feels so special. And she goes up, and there's a doorman there with a book in his hand, and she goes up to him, and he said, "Name, please." She tells him her name, and he starts looking through the book, and he said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, your name's not here." And she said, "Well, it's got to be there." He said, "Well, did you RSVP? Did you respond to the invitation?" "Well, I'm sure she looked at her husband and said, "Did you send that in?" He said, "Well, no, I didn't send it in. I thought you sent it in." And she said, "Well, man, I never thought about it." And she looked at him and said, "Look, I sang at the wedding. My name's got to be there." And he scanned it again and he said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, your name's not here." And she's starting to get a little bit irritated. And she looked at him and she said, "Look, man, I sang at the wedding." And he responded to her and he said, "Let me explain something to you. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter what work you performed in that ceremony. If your name is not in this book, you're not getting in." And the only way her name could have gotten in that book was for her to respond to the call, to the invitation. The only way you're going to get into heaven is to respond to the invitation. The only way, you're not going to get in because your daddy was a preacher or your mama was a preacher or a singer. You've got to respond. You have to respond. And she looks and she's frustrated, and she sees that the doorman means business. He's got a job to do and he's not letting her in. And she breaks in tears and she said, "But I sang in the wedding." He called for an individual. He said, "Would you escort them out, please?" He walks them down that long corridor, and she looks in and she sees a feast like none she'd ever seen before. Seafood on every table, the best cuts of prime rib. Things that made her mouth water, and she had to walk by it all because she didn't respond. And when the elevator opened, he looked at the attendant in the elevator, and the man said, "Take them down, please." There's only one other place to go. If you don't answer the call, everything that God put inside that ark had significance. He was trying to say something not just to that generation, but to the generation to come. Don't treat my presence like it's just something ordinary. Understand that there's a foundation that you're built on, and I'm going to provide for you. I'll take care of you, and I've called you to be my own. But if you don't respond to the call, then I won't choose you. Many are called, few are chosen.